Thanks for joining us for another edition of Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement. I am here at the News Forum where all voices matter. Let's discuss the state of the Canadian economy with our monthly panel. We also have the Quebec election and new leadership coming in Alberta to discuss. Here to help us out are Sandra Pupatello. She is a former Economic Development Minister and Trade Minister in the province of Ontario. We also have the Honourable Gary Marr. He is a former Cabinet Minister and now head of Cabinet Minister in Alberta and now head of the Canada West Foundation. And joining us as well, in the absence of Joe Oliver, is the Honourable Christian Paradis. He is a former Federal Minister of Industry. I'd like to start maybe, Sandra, with you and just to tell us your impressions. You're in the business world as well. About the latest assessment of the state of the economy generally. Rates are higher. Inflation has tapered a little bit. Maybe give us your assessment of it so far.
Well, it just seems like the impact of oil and gas on our general economy is so huge, and it's such a big part of what people pay every day that flux in that gas price is making a big difference. I'm not sure you're feeling the difference at the grocery store though, and that inflation is still an issue. It's still what everybody talks about around the table of how much more everything costs. I have to say though that if I see one more bank interest rate, I don't know where that's going to send us, because I feel like our psyche is going to send us into a recession, not anything, else. And if the recent bank experiences that I've had really were not positive. They really put you through the paces. And I thought, my company's 10 years old. It's had great 10 years. If I'm having this kind of trouble, how are young people getting moving here? How are they going to get finance? And one finance deal incurs so much more cost to this. It's fantastic because they spend money, they buy things. So I feel like they're going to send us into a recession that we don't deserve. So I'm worried that they don't raise rates anymore, that we sort of hang on. And inflation's double-sided there. When those rates are up and inflation is up, the government makes more money. When things cost more, they get more tax. So, our debt levels for the government will be better than expected. So I get the other side of it. But for everyday people, I think the inflation and, tough borrowing times, I think it's really hard on people.
Gary, Sandra raises a really good point about the Bank of Canada. A little bit, they have to sort of take the lead from the Federal Reserve in the U.S., which are continuing to jack up rates. What's your sense of things?
Well, I mean, look, the Bank of Canada doesn't have that many tools to deal with the issue of inflation. Interest rates are one of them, maybe their most important tool, as the Bank of Canada is wanting to try and put inflation sort of in the 2% range. I'm not sure how many tools that they have to be able to do that, other than to raise interest rates again. And as Sandra said, it's got a really big impact on consumers, on consumer borrowing, on the cost of goods that are going up, the cost of doing business. How do you start a business in this circumstance? These are all challenges, but if we are going to wrestle inflation down into the range that's been targeted by the Bank of Canada, then I'm not sure what options there are going to be.
Christian Paradis, your assessment. You're in Montreal. What's the talk there?
Yeah, I hear basically the same thing. It looks like now being a technical recession. The tools are limited, as Gary just alluded, and we're going in a recession where, as Sandra said, we don't deserve it, but. And that was part of the electoral campaign too. We just had an election, as you know, and the government in place was re-elected stronger, despite he had not a very good campaign. They made some mistakes, but still, they kept focus on the inflation, and this is where they succeeded to wedge against their threats, who was Québec solidaire. They were talking about adding extra taxes on VUS and capital and stuff like that. So of course, there was this I would say buzzword that was created, what they called orange tax, and this word will stay for a while. So now you can see that it's still wedged. You have the Conservative Party, a newcomer that was quite interesting. They had an interesting approach on the economy, and you had the Liberals on the other side. They seem to be lost. So what the what the current government succeeded to do, like CAQ, he succeeded to keep all of the nationalist matter under his umbrella, the economy, and then say, let's continue. We are the people in charge, and the other parties were flat.